Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. Tanya here, and I'm here with Carolina Gonzalez. And I'm so excited to have her on the show because we're going to dive into mindfulness. So, before we get started, thank you, Carolina, by the way, for being here. Um, so Carolina, she got into mindfulness and meditation after her own personal transformation journey after going through a difficult divorce, and her mother passing away from cancer. And her website is Carolina Gonzalez mindfulness.com, and you can see her name here. It's Gonzalez. And on that website, she has a quiz, which is called the midlife. It's a midlife architect. So, Carolina, can you explain that quiz really quickly?
Yeah, midlife archetype is a short
Oh,
3 minute
archetype.
quiz.
Sorry, I meant not architect.
You're right.
Right.
There's four archetypes, and it's really for women in midlife to understand or get a glimpse of what the coping mechanism is when they're overwhelmed or stressed. And I provide a mindfulness practice to really help them shift from that mindset.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. So that is a really valuable resource that everyone should definitely take advantage of. And so, Carolina, let's dive into your journey, your own personal journey, because I think it's pretty common for women in midlife to kind of have sort of a an identity crisis, right? Like they go through life, they wake up, maybe the kids are gone or close to gone, and they're realizing, oh, I don't feel fulfilled, or I'm overwhelmed, or, whatever the struggles are, they can really be amplified in midlife. And so I'd love for you to talk about that with our viewers.
Yes, I guess most women go through their life really people pleasing and trying to make sure that everyone around them is comfortable. They really try to keep the peace, normally putting their own needs and feelings in the bottom of the list. And yeah, and there is a moment, and this goes through decades, right? Through life, and there is a moment that the nervous system actually recognizes this behavior, which I call abandoning yourself, putting everyone else and everyone else's needs on the top of their priority list. So the nervous system starts to recognize this as safety, this familiar behavior, and this continues for years and years until what happens in when we get to midlife. It's chemically, biologically, physiologically, our bodies go, as we know, through transformation, and the patterns and the blueprint that we used to follow, it just doesn't work anymore. And this is demonstrated chemically, that behavior of people pleasing or saying yes to everything, it just it starts to feel a little bit like it doesn't sit well. And so this is when women start looking for ways to bring meaning into their lives. The behavior of putting their needs last stops working, and they want to sort of reconnect with that inner spark that they may have lost during their journey. Um, and of course, there's lifestyle changes too. Sometimes there's divorces, sometimes aging parents, and there's illness. Kids, like you said, start, if not leaving the house, we get to see them less and less for those who are mothers. So there is a whole sort of change of factors around that then I guess not force, but women prompt us to really take a step back and look at our lives. And, for me was I I got to this point not by choice, but by what life presented to me, which was my marriage ended after 19 years together, and sort of that really um, that was such a big change of identity because I had only recognized myself for many, many years as the mom and the holder of this family unit. And I had played this role, or strive throughout all those years to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and keeping everything together and in a healthy environment. And so when that wasn't there anymore, I just didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned in your opening, shortly after, I was still going through the process of the divorce and managing and navigating the situation and the pain. I guess not only from all of this and the changes in my identity, but also with my kids who were young and telling them that mom and dad were not going to be together. That was one of the most painful memories, looking at their faces, like being incredulous, like they couldn't comprehend what I was saying.
Yeah.
And during that period, yeah, my mom, who was visiting from overseas, she started feeling unwell, but just a little bit unwell. And so I took it, my siblings and I took her to the doctor. Next thing we know, she has cancer everywhere, brain, bones,
Wow.
lungs. And yeah, she was terminal, and no one could tell us, for how much longer she would live. But so yeah, that really, that phrase, I understood that phrase of someone pulled the rug from under my
I
feet.
was literally just thinking that the whole time you were talking, like it must have felt like the rug got pulled out from under you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had heard that phrase in movies and everywhere, but I did not understand it or felt it until then. I knew exactly what that saying meant.
Yeah.
And that started for me a journey inward because everything that I relied on or that I thought I took for granted and that I thought would be there forever. And my relationship, my husband, my mom, for God's sake, wasn't there anymore. So there was no like a reference for me as something that I could hold on to. And I was forced to get travel inside me because that's the only thing that I could trust then, right? Like I had me,
Yeah.
uh, myself, my feelings, my emotions, my inner strength, my resilience, and thankfully, with me always being interested in self help and self growth, and I had my practice of meditation for years and yoga too. I took that pathway and I started looking for mentors and to guide me through this period. And I had a beautiful therapist too, who was also a mindfulness mentor. And through all of those concepts and insights and practices, I managed to, I guess, awaken in me a curiosity for who I was
Mhm.
and what was within me that I could hold on to and that I could harness. Um, and yeah, after years of going through this healing process and bringing a lot of self-compassion and kindness towards myself and grace, concepts that were new to me.
Hmm.
I did not know what they meant, and I started practicing them, even a little bit skeptical, I think, but nevertheless, I stuck to my practice, trusting that, like with everything, practice, consistency creates new habits and new ways of thinking, right? And allows my body to also recognize these new ways of treating myself and being with myself. And through this period, I experienced such an amazing transformation. And there were things, the, I guess the main things for me were understanding, but deeply, that we are here just for a short period of time,
Yeah.
and that there is no victims in life. It's just the way it is. And if we are too much in our minds and projecting into the future or ruminating on the past, we get to miss out on this little time in on earth. So that was a big understanding for me. So that remove some of the fear for the future and the unknown.
Mm.
Also, the concept of there is suffering, because in this human experience, we get attached to things, to people, to circumstances, to events. But our bodies age, we lose people,
Right.
things may not be the way we want, and all that is the source of our suffering.
Right.
And accepting that as part of life, like there's not always joy and happiness. No,
Right.
it's both. It's the polarity of it all, and accepting it and embracing it without being too attached to it.
Right.
That's also an amazing learning, to allow me and for others to learn it, to live in a way that is, there is always an inner peace. There
Right.
is always,
To find
even,
that peace with all of that change, there's something that really popped out for me when you were talking about your mom, because I remember a time in my life where it was really interesting. There was this week period where I was with my 2-year-old at the time. I was a single mom, and I was running this home daycare. I had him and like 8 other children in my space that I was caring for, and working really hard. And I got a phone call. Well, two things happened. My grandmother died, and then my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and my 2-year-old turned and he looked at me and he yelled, "I want everybody to go home." He was so upset. He was just done with having all these kids taking up his mother's time, and I remember it was just like a slap in the face, like, wake up. Life is short. What are you doing? You're miserable. Like, be honest with yourself. You have this short life. And I think, you know, you just, I love what you're sharing because it's so true. We forget that we're only here for a short time and we end up in this almost like a sleep state, just thinking that things are just, we're always, I don't know, that things are always just going to be here the way they are. We take things for granted. We forget to, I don't know, pay attention to our kids or our partner or even ourselves, and we're just kind of going through life half asleep. And what you're speaking to is just the power of being present in the now, because that really is where happiness is, isn't it? It's not we I know I tend to project into the future, hoping for the next best thing, striving and wanting to be successful in whatever. How would you address that? Because I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of talk about there out in the world, especially, I'm thinking of like The Secret or manifestation, like, oh, visualize the reality that you want, pretend like it's already here, and so on and so forth. I'm curious, do you feel like that's in conflict to what you've discovered, or is it a both and, or how do you view that? I'm curious.
It's it's um it's a complex not question but the answer, but let me try to do my best. And of course, from my own experience,
Yeah,
it is normal to live in our minds. This is what minds do. This is part of being human. It's part of our survival mechanism. Minds are useful to keep us, to protect us, to let us know. The brain always wants to take us to familiar territory. Um, and so we end up living a lot and spending a lot of time in our minds. The mind is constantly scanning for threats, so it's always projecting into the future or into the past to try and reorient itself. Um, and always scanning for that danger, right? So if we understand that and we understand this is part of being human, and our thoughts are not necessarily who we are. Thoughts are thoughts, are part of the process of surviving, and then we can sort of witness our thoughts without becoming them. This is one of the issues. The vast majority of people, because we're not taught this, right?
right.
That the vast majority of people believe they're the thoughts, so they go about the entire lives believing what their thoughts say. So if there's raining outside, oh no, this day is going to be terrible because XYZ. And so then the whole day is terrible because the mindset is terrible. It's like that's a thought. You don't have to believe the thought. You can just step back and say, oh yeah, it's raining. Yeah, so be it. But you can choose to come back to this moment, to you, and not be miserable because your mind says so. And maybe I'm not doing a
No, it's making,
great job of
yeah.
explaining it.
Oh, you're doing a great job, I think. I mean, it's like, so having the awareness around, like in that example you just said, oh, it's raining, it's going to be a terrible day. If you have a practice of mindfulness, right, you can catch the thought and see it for what it is, and you can choose to believe it or not, or you can choose a better thought instead, right? Is that part of mindfulness awareness? It's like, oh, it's raining outside, and immediately my mind goes, it's terrible, it's going to be a terrible day, and like stop and having an awareness and looking at that, go, well, maybe not. Maybe it'll be a great day, or just changing where that train of thinking is going. Is
Yes, and that's part of it. That's part of mindfulness. The thing is, there has to be that awareness, and that's why the practice is important to train yourself to question your thoughts all the time, all the time. Otherwise, you get carried away in the narrative of your mind. And the thing is, minds are negative in nature. The negative thoughts are very sticky because remember, it's our mechanism for survival. Of course, there's part of it, right? There's also the cognitive part and the executive part of the brain that is for engaging in the present moment. But mostly we live in autopilot by default, and in negative thinking or led by our inner critic. And so mindfulness is the practice to witness that, question it. Is it true? And then sort of giving us the power back to choose a more positive angle, or even not to embrace the negative as a given,
Hmm.
right? So that's one thing. So understanding that yes, minds tend to go to the future to project, and their negative bias by nature. But then you mention also, um, we talk about being in the present, right? Being in the present means not engaging with the narrative of your mind, of traveling to the future of the past. But honestly, everyone must, I'm hoping, remember a time in their lives where they are totally in awe of a moment, they're in the present, and it could be, artists doing their art, or it could be when you are uh, totally in the moment with nature, looking at a flower, or looking at a sunrise, or with your kids, and
Hmm.
feeling joy because of their laughter. So those are moments where, when we are present, and what happens in those moments, we're not in our minds, we're actually there. We're with our senses, right? With our ears, with our eyes, with our sense of smell, with our bodies, we feel it. So, what I'm trying to say is, like, to be mindful, the body needs to join the party.
Hmm.
Like, we normally live in our minds, and our minds take us everywhere, and then the body follows behind. Who know who engages with the body throughout the day? Almost no one, in fact, we breathe. Luckily, we don't even know we're breathing. Luckily, the body knows
What to
what to do,
do?
because, yeah. And so it's a matter of bringing that together, your body, your mind, even your heart, with your emotions and feelings. And that means that you can access your wisdom, and you can access love. We can only experience love, we can only listen to our gut, gut feeling, when we're in the present, when we're engaged
Yeah,
in our bodies, right? So that's why this practice is so important. Otherwise, if we don't know it, then our lives go by without us consciously experiencing it.
yeah,
Um, and the point about the secret of manifesting, I think, so manifesting and thinking about the future, it's great in the way that, oh my, we see it, and we imagine we get the things that we desire, right? And we feel it in our body. And so there is a neuroscience to it, which is, the more you think and the more you go into the detail of the things that you desire, then there is a part, I think it's the reticular activation system. Then that means that you are embedding these sort of desires and thoughts in your brain. So your brain will be likely to tune into events, people, conversations, things that bring about that desire.
right.
The I think the thing that the what we need to be aware of is that we cannot be attached to the outcome. It's like a matter of, yeah, dreaming, desiring, and that's okay. But then letting go of that,
Yeah,
and just letting life happen. Still working towards that we want, being in health, being, I don't know, losing weight, or creating a habit of being more present with mindfulness, or
Mm,
working towards a purpose that we have. But like everything, and it's not only with this, manifesting with everything in life, we just have to let things be,
mm,
because there is no clinging, there is no holding, there is no keeping things unchanged. If one thing is a law of nature or a law of the universe, is the impermanence of things. Everything is in constant movement, so, and changing. We cannot stop it, right? Our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, events, people, circumstances. We are born, we grow old, we die. It's like constant change. So it's a lot of variables, but
mhm.
when they all come together with the right guidance, I guess, and practice, then they all make sense.
Right. It all kind of comes together. Yeah, that really is the distinction, isn't it? Of there's nothing wrong with desire, but desire will only cause the suffering if we're attached to it, right? We desire something, if it doesn't happen, oh, I'm so upset it didn't happen. Or, why isn't it happening? And all of this. But if we can just let it kind of breathe and move through us. And I feel like the other, and the mind is such a trickster, right? It's like, how many times do we see where desire, whatever, desire for some particular kind of success, somebody reaches that milestone, okay, you got the thing. And then the actual enjoyment of the thing lasts maybe just a few minutes or a day, and then already it's empty, right? Um, and so there's an illusory nature, it seems, to desire.
Yes, yes, it's so fascinating. And the more I learn about it, because I am a little bit of a nerd, and I realized this is like 2 weeks ago, now that you mention it, that the parts of our body, of our physiology, that relate to desire and the relief of obtaining the object of desire. There are two different parts of our body, in the brain. And so when you're desiring and you have the hope that you are gonna get this thing, when, like, if you, I don't know if you've ever bought a lottery ticket, but then you start imagining that what you're gonna do with all that money, and for me, it's like, I'm gonna give it away to this and this. And you release dopamine in that process when you're working towards something that makes you, excited. And then once you get that,
Hmm.
there's another part of the brain that acts is the relief of getting that, whatever it is. And that is an effect like an opioid.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
so the why I'm saying this is because you get hooked in a loop of desire. So you're saying it, and we all know it, right? You want this car, and you finally save and buy the car, and the excitement lasts for like a day or two. Then you're worried that they're gonna scratch and this and that, and then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's just part of also being human, because there is this, release of chemicals in your body that then are used up, and then you go on to the next one. So
Right.
it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and it almost kind of like, if you're not careful, I mean, from what you described, it's like, oh, well, addiction, like just
Yeah.
falling into addiction for whatever. Yeah, yeah, it's so powerful, and yeah, the mindfulness is what allows us to proceed with equanimity, right? And awareness, and just like, okay, I see the desire, but I don't have to lose myself in it.
Yes, I just don't know how to live without mindfulness.
Yeah, no.
Because you don't own your life. I'm not saying I own my life. My life is nature's.
Yeah,
But you just led by impulse and reactivity and your inner critic. And
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
you miss out of the experience. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I want you to, before we close this in a little bit, can you go over the archetypes that you mentioned in the beginning?
Yes. Oh my God, I don't have them in front of me. But there's four archetypes. So there's one is about the overthinker.
Mhm.
And
That's me. I feel like that's me.
the beauty of it is that women have a bit of
All of
each
them.
archetype, right? So there's the overthinking that most of the coping, the ways of coping go into overthinking, to-do list, ticking, and just planning, trying to project every single scenario.
Mhm.
So that's the overthinker. Then there is I don't remember the exact name of the archetype, but the one that puts everyone else comfort and well-being first.
Mhm.
So this woman mostly goes into making sure everyone else is okay. An event happens, she's stretched thin at work or
People pleaser? I mean, it sounds like people pleasing.
yeah, it's sort of like people pleaser, but it goes beyond. It's just, yeah, making sure that everyone else around her it's okay, is looked after in detriment of her own health.
Mhm.
There is another archetype that is the it's called the purposeful doer,
Mhm.
and is the person that just doesn't stop. The woman who is maybe high functioning, but I don't like using that word, but or that description, but is just constantly on the go. And the way to deal with the stress is by doing more.
Or the workaholic, yeah.
Yes, but even at home, it's just doing, and doing. And if is she could be so busy also at work, but and as soon as she's given another demand or request, then it's not about stepping back and saying no, I have too much. It's like, okay, let me see how I do it. The quicker, the better.
Mm.
And I'm missing the fourth archetype, which is the woman who mostly holds everything in. So they don't give themselves permission to feel, to
Yeah,
cry or to feel emotional. It's just putting everything in, ignoring, pushing down, putting a brave face and holding everything in. Yeah.
yeah, amazing. Yeah.
And there is a specific practice that could shift that pattern for someone, which yeah, I provide in the quiz.
So the quiz will point out, okay, if you're mostly the overthinker, here's a practice to tame that.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So tell us how do you work with women? I mean, you mostly work with women, correct? And
Yeah.
how do you work with them? Is it one-on-one? And do you offer group programs? Tell us about your offers.
Yeah, at the moment it's one-on-one. I think for this work it's important to have that uh, to feel safe and to have that intimacy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I have different programs. I have my signature one is 12 weeks, and yeah, I help or guide women from feeling like really exhausted or stuck or depleted to develop that self-trust and to find clarity and find that calm within.
Yeah.
And then I've developed other very like shorter programs for weeks, where sometimes they don't want to commit that long. So I treat a specific
Mm,
I sorry, not treat. I help with a specific concerns like I have one that is called from reactive to responsive,
mm,
and this was created because of a lady who had just issues with her kids, like snapping at them all the time, feeling reactive, always trying to solve the problems and quick fix. So this specifically is just to show there's a framework that I developed to help just take
yeah.
a step back and have more a more conscious communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that mindfulness is really, really mostly about slowing down? Because I feel like we live in a world that's increasingly speeding up. And it's almost like there's a fairy tale, The Red Dancing Shoes. It's a story about a girl who she wants these dancing shoes so she can dance better or whatever, and she puts them on, but they're enchanted and they're dancing, 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 and they keep going faster and faster and faster and faster until she just, collapses in exhaustion. She can't get them off her feet, and all of this. I feel like one of the um, most powerful things that we can do in terms of, oh gosh, I just feel like cultivating a more compassionate world is this making a deliberate choice to slow down, right? Because it's like life will not slow down unless you make that choice. Again, going back to the mindfulness and putting the power back on you, that you actually do have a freedom of choice to choose differently.
Yes, Tanya, slowing down would be the first step. Just consciously slow down, and it's so hard because we are surrounded by this fast, 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 everything faster. And now with, AI, and then you need to achieve more, and then it's like, it's a conscious choice of a it, it's needed.
Yeah.
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 Slowing down, pausing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just, I really am just so grateful that you're here to spend time with us and that, just sharing your expertise and the depth of your wisdom and knowledge around mindfulness and the teachings of mindfulness. Yeah, I highly recommend that, if you're watching this, to please like, subscribe, share this with someone that you think could benefit. If you know of someone who is struggling with overwhelm or feeling burnt out or going through a big life transition that really could use some tools and support to help in that, yeah, share this video with that person. And Carolina, do you have any last words you would like to share or final thoughts?
Just for those who are listening, to give yourself grace, because it is hard. It is not easy. It is hard, and know that you're doing your best and that there is another way if you're feeling, or if they're feeling, what you said, exhausted or like stuck. Just give yourself some space, even on your own, just to notice your breath. And yeah, that's all. And
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing what just taking a little time out, just a few minutes, right? Step outside in nature, take some deep breaths, let your mind just stop for
yeah.
a minute, stop the doing and the thinking and just be for a moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
powerful. Carolina, thank you so much. I adore you. This has been wonderful, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Tanya. This has been amazing. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone, and until next time.